World War III is no longer a distant nightmare. It's hammering on Taiwan's front door, and Beijing is holding the sledgehammer. As China's war drums beat louder for the reunification of this democratic island of 24 million, the question screams across global capitals. Can Taiwan, an island David against a communist Goliath, actually stop an invasion? While Taiwan expertly plays a desperate diplomatic game, it's also turning itself into a high-tech fortress, a porcupine designed to make any Chinese invasion a bloody, horrifying meat grinder. But is that enough? Can Taiwan's chip power protect it, or will Xi Jinping, under pressure at home, still attack and bring chaos no matter what the cost? The Unsinkable aircraft carrier? Make no mistake, Taiwan knows it can't match China's People's Liberation Army tank for tank, ship for ship. So it's embraced a brutal, brilliant porcupine strategy, making itself so indigestible, so painful to swallow, that Beijing chokes on the attempt. As of today, this strategy is in overdrive. We're talking about transforming the island into a high-tech fortress bristling with asymmetric weapons. Imagine thousands of mobile, hard-to-target anti-ship missiles like the homegrown Seong-Feng series and US-supplied harpoons, ready to turn the Taiwan Strait into a graveyard for PLA landing craft. Think smart sea mines, swarms of attack drones, and shoulder-fired Javelin and Stinger missiles in the hands of a highly motivated, rapidly expanding reserve force. Taiwan's military isn't planning to meet the PLA on the beaches with equal numbers. They're planning to turn every street, every building, every hill into a deadly ambush. Civil defense drills are ramping up, teaching ordinary citizens how to survive an aerial bombardment and resist an occupation. The goal isn't to defeat the PLA in a conventional sense. It's to inflict such catastrophic losses, to drag out the conflict for so long that Beijing is forced to reconsider the price of reunification. Every single invading soldier will face a fight for every inch, a Taiwanese defense official was recently quoted by international media. We will be a bitter pill to swallow. But Taiwan's most powerful weapon might not be a missile, it's a tiny piece of silicon. Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, isn't just a company. It's a global strategic asset of almost unimaginable importance. As of early 2025, TSMC still utterly dominates the production of the world's most advanced semiconductors. The chips below 7 nanometers that power everything from your iPhone and supercomputers to advanced military hardware and AI systems. We're talking a shocking 90% or more of the global market share for the most cutting-edge chips. If a Chinese invasion were to disrupt or, God forbid, destroy TSMC's foundries, the global economy wouldn't just stumble, it would collapse into a technological dark age. Every major industry, automotive, consumer, electronics, telecommunications, defense, artificial intelligence, would grind to a halt. The economic shockwave would be in magnitudes greater than the COVID pandemic or the Ukraine war. This is Taiwan's Silicon Shield. The argument, whispered in Taipei and shouted by some Western analysts, is that the world, particularly the United States and its allies, simply cannot afford to let Taiwan fall. Not just for democratic ideals, but for raw economic survival. Is TSMC an unspoken deterrent? A company so critical that it guarantees international intervention? Beijing knows this. The question is, does Xi Jinping care enough, or is his obsession with Taiwan blinding him to this catastrophic economic reality? Even if Xi Jinping decides to gamble, invading Taiwan is no cakewalk. It's a military operation of terrifying complexity and unprecedented risk. The Taiwan Strait, at its narrowest about 100 miles of treacherous water, is a formidable natural barrier. Weather conditions are notoriously unpredictable, with only a few windows each year suitable for a massive amphibious assault. And what an assault it would have to be. Military analysts estimate the PLA would need to land hundreds of thousands of troops in the initial waves just to secure a beachhead against determined Taiwanese resistance. This would be the largest amphibious operation since D-Day, and the PLA has zero experience in such a complex undertaking. Their last major combat was a brief, bloody border war with Vietnam in 1979. Taiwan's western coastline, the most likely invasion zone, is a defender's dream. A patchwork of urban areas, mountains, and short, easily defended beaches. Imagine the PLA trying to land troops under a hail of Taiwanese anti-ship missiles, smart mines, and drone attacks, then fighting street by street through fortified cities against a well-armed populace. It would be a bloodbath. And even if they got ashore, their logistical lines would be stretched across a hostile sea, vulnerable to constant attack. The PLA Air Force would face Taiwan's upgraded F-16V Vipers, its Patriot and Skybow air defense missile batteries, and potentially intervening U.S. and allied air power. This isn't a quick victory scenario. It's a recipe for a prolonged, high-casualty quagmire that could bleed the PLA white. While its military prepares for the worst, Taiwan is also engaged in a high-stakes diplomatic ballet, desperately trying to buy time and rally international support. For decades, Taipei has navigated the treacherous waters of the One China policy, a deliberately ambiguous framework where most of the world acknowledges Beijing's claim that there is only one China, but takes no formal position on Taiwan's ultimate status. Taiwan itself, under its official name, the Republic of China, maintains its own constitution and democratically elected government. This diplomatic tightrope act, while frustrating, has been a key strategy to deter an immediate Chinese invasion by maintaining a fragile status quo. By not formally declaring independence, a clear red line for Beijing, Taiwan avoids giving China a direct casus belli. Simultaneously, it works tirelessly to bolster its informal ties with democracies around the world, particularly the United States, Japan, and Australia. The goal is to build a web of economic, political, and security partnerships that raises the international stakes of any Chinese aggression. We seek peace, but we will not surrender our freedom or our way of life, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has repeatedly stated. It's a delicate, dangerous game of deterrence by ambiguity, hoping to keep the dragon at bay, one carefully worded statement at a time. Xi's Achilles Heel. What would an invasion of Taiwan really cost China beyond the battlefield? The answer is simple: economic Armageddon. Xi Jinping's China, for all its military might, is still deeply intertwined with and dependent on the global economy. A war over Taiwan would trigger immediate, crippling international sanctions from the G7 and beyond, dwarfing anything imposed on Russia over Ukraine. We're talking about freezing trillions in Chinese assets, cutting off access to Western technology and financial markets, and a full-scale trade embargo. China's annual trade with India alone, historically exceeding $100 billion, would vanish. Its far larger trade with the US, Europe, Japan, and South Korea would collapse. Foreign investment, already shaky due to Beijing's increasingly authoritarian turn and ongoing trade wars, would evaporate overnight, leading to massive capital flight. Global shipping routes, particularly through the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, the conduit for nearly half of global container traffic, would become war zones, sending insurance costs into orbit and choking off global trade. And what about China's own lifelines? It's critically dependent on imported energy, oil and gas, much of which transits vulnerable sea lanes. An international blockade, or even just the disruption of war, could starve China's industrial heartland. For a Chinese economy already grappling with a collapsing real estate bubble, soaring youth unemployment, which by early 2025 might still be a festering wound, and the immense cost of Xi's zero-COVID legacy and tech decoupling, a Taiwan war isn't just a military risk. It's a one-way ticket to economic oblivion. And don't think the rest of the world would escape unscathed. The economic tsunami unleashed by a Taiwan conflict would swamp every corner of the globe. The immediate shutdown of TSMC and Taiwan's other chip foundries would trigger a global semiconductor famine orders of magnitude worse than the shortages seen during the pandemic. Think about it. No advanced chips means no new smartphones, no new computers, no new cars, no advanced medical equipment, no AI development, no modern defense systems. The global tech industry would implode. Automotive production lines would halt. Critical infrastructure reliant on these chips would degrade. Inflation would skyrocket globally as supply chains shatter. Stock markets would crash. A deep, prolonged global recession wouldn't just be possible, it would be virtually guaranteed. This isn't just Taiwan's problem. A war over Taiwan is a war on the global economy, a conflict where every nation becomes a casualty. The sheer interconnectedness of the modern world means that the first shots fired across the Taiwan Strait would be heard and felt in every household on the planet. Xi Jinping has staked his personal legacy and the CCP's legitimacy on the sacred mission of unifying Taiwan with the mainland by force if necessary. But what if that sacred mission turns into a bloody, costly failure or even a Pyrrhic victory? The domestic backlash within China could be catastrophic for the Communist Party. Imagine hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers returning in body bags, or not at all. Imagine the economic devastation leading to mass unemployment, hyperinflation, and food shortages. The CCP's carefully crafted narrative of inevitable triumph and national rejuvenation would lie in tatters. This could shatter the unspoken social contract, prosperity in exchange for political obedience that has underpinned CCP rule for decades. And what happens when the center can no longer hold? Regions with long-standing grievances, Tibet, Xinjiang with its Uyghur population, Inner Mongolia, could see a failed Taiwan adventure as their opportunity to reignite struggles for autonomy or independence. A weakened, humiliated CCP would struggle to maintain its iron grip. Furthermore, a costly war would exacerbate China's already daunting demographic challenges, an aging population and a shrinking workforce, as a generation of young men is consumed by conflict. And don't forget China's neighbors. A bogged-down or defeated PLA could embolden regional rivals like India, still smarting from border clashes, or Vietnam with its own South China Sea disputes, to push back harder against Chinese expansionism. A Taiwan war wouldn't just be an external adventure. It could trigger an internal implosion of the People's Republic itself. The unthinkable escalation in Asia's powder keg. You see, Xi Jinping's Taiwan trap is serious. He demands China control Taiwan. But an attack risks money ruin, many deaths, and his government falling, leaving Taiwan shattered. This war brings the world to the edge of nuclear danger, even if China won't strike first, especially with US involvement. The conflict could make the whole area unstable, drawing in nuclear rivals India and Pakistan, turning the region into a nuclear hotspot. Unclear Pakistani nuclear plans add more risk if fighting grows. In a tense standoff with many nuclear powers, any mistake or desperate move could spark a horrific nuclear war. Will Xi put his legacy above clear thinking, leading to worldwide chaos? Taiwan stands strong, facing a rising threat. Will Xi risk war to take it, or will global pressure stop him? Is peace still possible? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.